Alright, hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. Okay, so I've started to add a few things to the game. I think we're going to get rid of those blocks. Yes, let's test it out. So, it's a game now. Let's see, so Blue Trucking City, I think I said this in the last video, I think, as, it's a free-form game. You could join it. You could buy the, run missions, buy the trucks, but there was no direction. The game, quote unquote. There was no the game, right? So that's what we're trying to create here in this one, is more of the game element. So this is just a blank truck, and there we go. Can kind of pick it up. It's still a little touchy. Even the little one is a little touchy. Kind of got to go a little bit and then get her going here. There we go. All right. So now that I've loaded up, what we want to do is we want to check in the. I suppose that could work. If it's just scrap. Alright, so what is going on is I have a car here. I have a small tow truck. We can pick up the car. We can sell it. And I'm attempting to do the same thing with the semi. So this would actually be like that. And now in the initialize, player name dot value tow. I think that's right. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to lock the vehicles. So, a lot of vehicles, you just jump in the car seat and you drive away. And what we want to do is we want to make it so that way only the player who owns the vehicle can jump in the vehicle and drive away. So in order to do that, we need to a chassis. Oh, it's different. I see that didn't work. Interesting. Okay, so you see what happened there? So in the initialize script, let's go through it then. Let's go through it. In the initialize script, so we have a chassis, and then this is the a chassis. In the initialize script, at the very, very bottom, it handles when the person sits in the drive seat. So what I'm doing right now is I'm saying if the person jumps in the drive seat and their name matches this name here, make the truck work. So when the player initially spawns the truck won't work. Once the player activates a prompt, it's going to change the name in that value to the player's name, tow. So that way in the workspace we'll be able to find it as player's name, tow truck, as right. We'll go through it. What's going on here? That's the tow. Oh. Okay, so what is going on is when I sit in the drive seat, the initialized script is it's supposed to clone the HSC interface and then run the vehicle. But what I'm doing is I'm trying to say if this value has to match my name, like that. So the player is going to be able to spawn in cars, and they're going to be able to spawn in trucks, and the tow truck, a combination of both. So we need to be able to track those differently. So they're going to have different names in the workspace. And so right now I'm just figuring that out. What is that name going to be? How come that didn't work out? So this has to be the player's name. This has to be the player's name. But the actual truck has to be named this. So let's see if that can work. Because when we spawn in the vehicle, we can name the vehicle whatever we need it to be. And then when we activate the prompt, we can then change the value in the drive seat to whatever we want it to be. That's what I'm trying to simulate here without going through all those steps. If it works, then we'll design the rest of those steps. If it doesn't work, then we need to rethink and redesign how it could work, right? So now it's not working. I don't know why it's not working. So what's it trying to read here? Let's see. It should be trying to get player from character right here. I should actually print this. Let me see. Print. There. So as soon as we sit in the seat, it's going to print whatever that value is. That's going to tell us, that's the hurdle we have to get past, whatever you want to call it, where the code is breaking. The problem is I have one, and I've just been copying and pasting, and I haven't actually built another one in a while. And now I'm having to do it, so that's why I just want to do it, just to refresh my memory. Come on. Oh, there, it printed my name. It printed my name when I sat in the seat. It printed my name. So, it can get the player's name. Okay, so then if we change that just to the player's name, let's see if it activates the truck. Yes, it activates the truck. Now, what's this? Part 1 is not a valid member of sound workspace. Hmm. No, it worked. Let me see that error. What's the error? It says part 1. Hmm. It still works. Maybe we don't need the part 1. I don't know what that is exactly. I don't know what that. I don't know what that is referenced in the code. I just saw it here. Players get player from character child.part1.parent. So maybe we can't get that until after this here. Maybe I need to do it like this. Maybe I need this function here, and then but I need to say .name perhaps. Let's try that. So again, I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm just looking at the code, saying, there's just copying and pasting, just figuring things out. Unable to cast value to object. Okay, so we could say child.parent.name. I think that's what's going on here. I think that's what we need. Child.parent. I think that's right. Oh. Didn't finish the rest of the code. Rockin' music though, my goodness. Yeah. We could just say car.name, honestly. And then we would have to change this. Actually, we could do this here. Again, sticking with the theme that when we spawn the model into the workspace, we can change the name to whatever we want. I like to start off with the player's name and then reference the object after the player's name, and that way it's just so easy when you're giving rewards, when you're trying to delete player objects, when you're trying to track the player on missions. It's really easy to track the player and their objects in the workspace that way. Yes, okay, so that worked. So now the vehicle name is Tow. Now why does that matter? It matters because on the cell script, it needs to be named player name Tow Scrap. So now, there it is. There's the Tow Scrap. So if I hop out of the truck and I come over here, there's this block. Yes, and I got rid of it. Excellent. Excellent. So that prompt searches the workspace for those objects, either the car or the semi. And then we'll have trailers and other stuff, right? Cool. Oh, that's really cool. So let's go over it. Let's go over what you just watched me stumble through for 16 minutes. Okay. If we have multiple players on the map, we want to make sure that only the player that owns the vehicle can use the vehicle. So how do we do that? What we do is in the A chassis, in the initialize, it handles when the driver sits down on the drive seat. Okay? So what we do is we add a string value and we name it whatever we want. And then we just say, okay, if the player's name is that value, use the vehicle. Otherwise, don't use the vehicle. Now, what we need to do now is we need to say, how do we expel the other player? So what we need to do is we need to say else. Let's see. Else child. Let's see. Sure, let's see what that does. Let's see what that suggestion that the AI. Oh, I gotta change the name of it. Let's see what the AI suggests it does. Let's see what random bit of code did we just get from the artificial intelligence. It's gonna do something to our character if we're not the occupant. So ideally, if you're not the player that owns the vehicle, when you try and sit in the seat, it'll bump you out of the vehicle. And that way you don't have to sit there and go, get out, get out, get out of my truck. It just kicks you out of the truck, right? Or what we could do is we could make a block here, which is collidable, and we can say if you're the player, collidable false. So there's many ways to handle that. So let's change the name of this to that, and then let's see what happens here. I'm thinking it's going to fling me away based on the code that we got. It should fling me away. Oh, it pushes the truck away. No, it doesn't do anything. Okay, so it doesn't do anything. Once again, we got code, random code from the AI that doesn't seem to do anything. So what we need to do is we need to say the child, which in this case would be the player. Yeah, I don't even, like I said, I don't know. We want to say child. Let's see. else, if yeah, here we go. Let's copy this. So that lets you sit in the seat. Now this one's going to be a little bit different. So instead of the drive seat.playerName.value being that, if car.driveseat.playerName, we want to say if child equals or do we say let's see, if car.driveseat.playerName.value is it this one here? Is it this one that's not equal to child.name? Then let's see, child yeah, there we go. All right, so it should kill us if we're not. It should, and then we know it works, right? That's what we're trying to do. We don't want it to do that. What we'll do is we'll search the child for like our head, and then we'll teleport the player away. But we can always just kill the player. Why not? It does save your position. I suppose then you'd be back at the spawn, and that would save your position at the spawn. Okay, so it won't actually let me sit in the seat. That's cool. Interesting. So it probably deletes the weld every time you try to sit down. So that's cool. So that's good. So now let's see if we can change the name. Back. What happens? So that's what I kind of do. I'm just kind of playing around with stuff. As you can see, I made the mini map there, and I made a couple of things just sort of playing around. It takes a little bit. It's not like I just sit down and I make it. It does take. I'll sit down, do some coding, do some playing around, and then you got to get up, think, sit down, play around. So it's a lot of back and forth. Yep, there we go. There you have it. So if you're not the owner of the vehicle isn't going to start up. That is perfect, and that's exactly what we want. So now with this one here, I'm pretty sure the script here is the seat, and it gives us the trailer interface, which allows us to activate the truck. But we don't need. All this does is it's like if you're sitting in the seat, make the proximity prompt visible. If you're sitting in the seat, the proximity prompt is not visible. If you're not sitting in the seat, the proximity prompt is visible, and it's all this code just for that. It is hilarious. Hold on a second here. It is hilarious. Some of the stuff here. All right, there we go. Then we'll get rid of that because I've modified it. So we can do that. You know what? Here, let's do this. If I want this to be enabled equals false, let's just see if I can get in the small pickup truck still. If I can, what we'll do is we'll take the code that we just designed in the big truck and we'll install it in the smaller truck. And then both vehicles will be the same. They'll be locked out. And then if you don't have the name of the player, you won't be able to activate the vehicle. Simple as that. So when you first spawn the vehicle into the game, you'll activate a proximity prompt, which will change that value in the seat to the value which will let only you activate the vehicle. Oh yeah, perfect. Not so perfect. Where is the... Oh, it didn't give me... It didn't clone the interface. Why? Why did you not clone the interface? Huh. Oh, because I didn't activate the proximity prompt. I just sat in it. That could be why. So then after you activate the prompt in the code, we'll have to make it go false because I deleted all that code that made it go false. It made it disappear. To the good times. To the good times. All right. Can I not see the proximity prompt anymore? Because I disabled it right there. That picks up when we sit in the seat, and it just changes the name of the vehicle. That's all it does. So I could get rid of this. See, when I first had these vehicles, I didn't understand much about coding and how any of this stuff works, so I kept these old scripts, and now I just make my own scripts, and it's fine, and it's easy. So we'll paste that into there. This script, okay, and then that's activated, and then we'll say that, and then what we want to do is we want to say proximity prompt dot enabled equals false. There we go. Oh, I need to do one more thing. Let's set the seat value to the player's name. Back this up a little bit. Instead of just testing that we can clone the interface, let's test a few more things at the same time. Okay, so before the proximity prompt disables itself, we're going to do that. So close the interface. Then we're going to say script.parent player name value equals player.name. Yes, player.name. And then right, because when we spawn the vehicle into the workspace, it's going to have another name, and that is going to be player names too. Just like that. That's how we're going to track it. Perfect. Then that way you can only have one tow truck in the workspace at a time. Right? When you spawn the new truck, it'll delete the old one and it'll spawn the new one. It'll be perfect. And then that way, let's say you're towing, whatever it is, and you flip over, or something happens to the truck and you need to respawn the truck. Then you can respawn the tow truck without having to lose the load right where you are. And then you can try and readjust the load. So there's going to be a little bit of that, right? And we're going to need a couple of winches up high just in case we need to right the vehicle. There's going to be a few things. Cool, there we go, look at that. And it works. Yeah. It's not bad. Towing the little cars is alright. Alright, so then we get over to the scrapyard. Wherever we're gonna deliver the car. Boom, car's gone. Just like that. And then it respawns. So when we pick up the car, again, it changes the name of the vehicle. Then the script will go, oh, the vehicle has been picked up, and then it will respawn the vehicle. And that way, the player will have that, we have that replay value. And then so around the map, there's going to be locations where these cars spawn, and they're going to randomly, a random car will spawn in those spots around the map, which I think will be neat. So that's what we're getting at. So we have the random semi, we have a random car. Now all I need to do is just find some more vehicles, just very basic vehicles as you saw. Weld them together, make some basic tires, and then, yeah. Probably what I need now is a trailer actually for this. And then I can get more or different, you know, type of interactive missions. Now I think the crane on the big one will work. I think it'll work. I think. Oh, I forgot that the crane can go up. On this one, yeah, this one's a little more advanced. Oh yeah, there we go. Right, so we'll have that, and then of course we're gonna need to have the final tow truck to be worked on is now the flat deck tow truck. So we could have two more types of trucks added here. There's this one now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the controls on this so they work like this one with the arrows and stuff. This will go up and down. This will go down with the arrows. I think it'll be better. And then just real simple controls, auto welding, auto release, blah, 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 blah. I think that's the way to go. And then what I'll need to do is for the tablet, I'll have to make a screen button. So I'm going to work on that. That's the next thing to be worked on is the screen buttons. Once we get this one working. So now the idea behind this one was there was supposed to be a prompt. It was here. So what it does is it looks for this tow truck, and then it looks for this position, this part's position, and it'll just teleport it onto here. And then I think from there we can weld it. Let me see if this, let me see. So if we had teams, for example, you can have certain proximity prompts that are only visible to teams. That's what the initial idea behind the tow, this tow feature, was so if you're in your car and you wanted to break down, you know, like for roleplay or whatever, you could just break down and then the prompt would come up. Oh, you know why? I have to access the data store. It won't fire. Hold on. We need to block out some code here. If I do that and that, it should at least do the first part before the last part. It should teleport it. Oh my goodness. Keep this, okay. So. Excellent. So then once it's on there, I think I needed to, well, is that right? Is it welded on there? Yeah, now it's welded on there. How cool is that? How cool is that? So these controls here, in and out, up, down, I'm going to be replacing them and they're going to be the arrow keys. And then when you press the arrow key, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a little graphic that comes up on the screen, which just sort of shows the action. I think that's going to be a better way than this, right? But so in order to understand where, like, because I've never done this before, I need to create the buttons. So the easiest way to create the buttons is to create text buttons. It's the quickest way. It's the easiest way. Then after that, we can upgrade, right? We can start mapping them to the keyboard and all that sort of stuff. And that's kind of what we're doing now, right? Upgrading the map, upgrading that sort of stuff. So this is really cool that it works. I don't know why it just doesn't turn on. Same thing, you see, all the vehicles are locked because I didn't press the unlock truck button. Okay, so the last thing we need to do here, actually, you know, this thing seems a little small here. Scale that up a little bit. Let's see. The last thing we need to do is the initialize script in here with a chassis. Okay, back to what we were doing. Back to the... Alright, so we need to add the seat protection, right? We need to add this. So way down at the bottom, line 600, when we sit in the seat, we need to do that, and then we need to say else. All right, so now I just need to make sure this is. I'm connecting all the dots here. Yeah, and then that way somebody else can try and sit in the seat, but it won't even let them sit down, and then you can get inside the vehicle, and away you go. It's perfect, actually. Alright, so I can't sit in that seat. Ooh, it gave me the controls, but it won't let me sit down. Okay, so we'll have to change that, obviously. Probably need to change. That's right. Drive seat up. So we might need two values here. We might need two values here. Or we have to do this. Like that. See if it's going to work. Still not working. Ah, come on. Now we need to change the value in the seat. And we'll confirm. We'll confirm now. No, it's not. It's not even working. Ah. So we'll do that. We'll do that. And then we'll just do that. And then so then we have to set the name here. Just like that. All right. Which is what I had done. Okay. So there you go. Sometimes I gotta do it twice, or 3 times, or 4 times. All right. So now, when I join the game, oh, I gotta change the value back to just to the name. Because there's 2 things there. There's 2 things there. There is the drive seat dot player name dot value is the car name. Then it gives us the car. Right. That's the only way to make it work. But then this has to be oh, that's right. Then we need to just set the value. That's right. That's right. That's what we're missing here. That's what we're missing here. So in the pickup truck, we have the drive prompt. And here we do not. The drive prompt will there we go. It's going to set the value. There we go. Now, and then what it's also going to do is going to clone the interface, but I think the interface on this truck is cloned through a chassis. So I'm going to get rid of all of this. And we'll just try that. Let's try that. All right. All right. Yeah, cool. There we go. So now that's that vehicle. So I guess in this case, we should take this part here so we sit in there. Why not? Why not? Cool. So it'll spawn in and it'll have the name, player characters tow truck. Like I say, that's how I want to try and track stuff. So now what you're seeing is, hopefully, if you've been watching this far, thank you so much. What we're able to do now is kind of add that. Now only the player who owns the vehicle can drive the vehicle. It's perfect. So that solves so many problems, especially in a multiplayer game. Nice. So, and then the prompt has now been disabled. Perfect. Yeah, so I'll have to have all this on different buttons. Like, I'll probably do up and down, but you'll have to hold maybe L and J and whatever for this. Well, I'm going to figure it out. And then likewise with the dials. I'm in the process of upgrading the dials. Yeah, so that is going to do it. Finally. A not too bad video. What do? We did some tow truck work. And that was it. That was about it. We did some tow truck work. Nice. I guess I'll have to make this truck automatic. Instead of semi-automatic. And then, I could tweak these numbers down a little bit. Alright, let's see if that works. Right, the larger the numbers, the more torque, but the slower the top speed. The smaller the numbers, less torque, but faster top speed. So when it comes to tuning your vehicles, that's the easiest way to do that. So we're going to do that on this map. Obviously, there's going to be maybe a racetrack somewhere. We'll see. Definitely going to be some nice fast cars for sure. There's a lot of infrastructure for that. There we go, away we go. Wow, this thing's fast. Takes off fast. Yeah, it's busy. It needs some work. So that's what I'm going to be working on now. Right, so then we take the broken down semi-truck. We'll drag it to the scrap yard, wherever that is. Probably going to be over by the dump, actually. And then we can sell it for money. So not all these vehicles will be scrapping. Some of them we'll be keeping and we'll be upgrading. And then we can take those to the dealership and we can sell them for more money. So that's kind of the idea here. And I got to check to make sure I can do this with the buses as well. Yeah. And you'll get resources from selling the vehicles, which you can use to upgrade the vehicles so you can sell them for more money. And that is also how you will acquire, ideally, new vehicles. Right? They're all going to randomly spawn. The semi-trucks will randomly spawn. The cars will randomly spawn. Nice. Right, so then we'll get the flat deck working. A little bit. We'll work on it a little bit. Like this obviously needs to be worked on more. I'll do that on my own time. The programming side. And then what we'll do is... once that gets worked on, then we'll need to get a semi with a trailer for recoveries. Yeah. Not a trailer, but we'll need a semi that can haul trailers. Oh, there's the dump there. Perfect. All right. Nice. Rainy day, should have done that for the drive. All right, well that's gonna do it. That is gonna do it for today's video. Once again, thank you so much for watching, liking, and subscribing. So now what I would do is I would have a kiosk here where we could take the scrap vehicle and then sell it. And that's basically that. And then I'm just gonna be expanding on this idea. Yeah, so then, of course, we're gonna make more money. Oh, that's cool. Yeah. So that's the gist of it. Now the coming upgrades are going to be with the vehicles. They're going to require fuel and other things to run. You know, that's what's going to make it a game, right? So you run through the missions. To get the vehicles for the missions, you have to tow them. And that's how the player will unlock the vehicles, right? Which are going to randomly spawn on the map. Then you can do the missions, which is going to give you upgrade materials, which you could use to upgrade your vehicles. So on and so forth. I think it's going to be real fun, but that's the concept. So thank you so much for watching, liking, and subscribing. Thanks for following along. There's going to be plenty more coming up. And I hope to see you in all the next videos. Bye-bye.